Welcome to the Living Legacy Podcast, where we feature wealth experts, investors, and entrepreneurs as they share their inspiring journey to living their best life. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey everybody, Brian Fouch here, host of the Living Legacy Podcast, where I feature top leaders across many industries. Now today, I have Joe Moss here from Olympia Advanced Dentistry. Now, Joe's been in the dentistry space for about 15 years now in the Pacific Northwest, and has had a lot of different revelations here in the last couple of years that we're going to cover on this interview. It's going to be amazing because he is doing a lot of fun things and he's pivoting as a business owner. So it's going to be a lot of good insights into what he's doing. That being said, this episode is brought to you by the Living Legacy Association. Now here at Living Legacy, our mission is to empower clients with the knowledge, the strategies, and the opportunities to achieve financial prosperity. Now, whether you're looking to save on taxes, whether you want to protect your current assets or identify investments and strategies, that's what we do. So to learn more, visit our website at livinglegacyassociation.com or go to support@livinglegacyassociation.com to reach out to us. So Joe, I want to thank you for being here on this episode.
Yeah, of course. No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
So just to give everybody a little bit of your background, can you go through how you got to where you're at? How'd you get into dentistry? How'd you spend the last sort of 10 to 15 years in that space?
Yeah, for sure. So, my dad was an orthodontist. So here in Olympia, so he was the first one to go to dental school. Actually, my grandpa was a lab tech. So he came out of the Navy and became a lab tech. So I guess that's kind of what brought the family into dentistry. But my dad didn't want to buy his business. He wanted to become a dentist. So he went off to dental school, and I went with him as a little kid and kind of watched his journey through dental school. We came back to Olympia. He was an orthodontist, started a practice from scratch. I watched that. And then it took a while, but after some time went by, life got good. The business grew. And, as a kid, kind of being able to watch your dad be able to make his own schedule and spend a lot of time with me and play a lot of golf. And we did a lot of sports and we did a lot of vacations. You kind of just start to enjoy that lifestyle. And so that's kind of what I always kind of wanted for my family. So that's kind of what pushed me towards dentistry. Now, I went to college and I went back and forth. I'll do dentistry. Oh my gosh, chemistry is so hard. I'm not going to be a dentist anymore. So I pivot to business and then I pivot over here in psychology. And I came back to dentistry eventually. And I went to USC Dental School and graduated in 2009. And my dad introduced me to multiple dentists in the area, and I shadowed my senior year whenever I could. I came home and hung out with different dentists, checked out their offices, and ended up settling in with his name was Bruce Cooper, Dr. Cooper, and he had a big successful practice, and that's what I wanted. So jumped in with him, and that's where I've been ever since.
Very cool. So you saw what your dad did and you sort of followed in that path, which when it comes to business ownership, entrepreneurship, one of the best people to learn from are those around us, our families. So it sounds like you got a good push in that direction from seeing that happen, obviously in your own life when you were growing up, correct?
I did. Yeah. I saw him, build his business. I saw him eventually build his own building, and he bought a lot of property and sold the property so other dentists and physicians could build their buildings. He made them all build them just like his, so they all look the same. But looking back now, knowing what I know, I would have gone back and told my dad, hey, you build the buildings and lease them, Own
the asset, right? Own the asset.
Yeah, own the asset. And he owned his building and recently retired, sold his practice, and sold his building too. And I'm like, should have kept
cash flowing asset. Right?
Yeah. So he's doing great. And I've learned a ton from him, and the way he managed people, the way he treated patients and people, how involved he got in the community. He became kind of a pillar. Everyone still to this day that's from here remembers getting their braces at, Moss Orthodontics. And so he did a good job, but there's definitely things that he did that, knowing what I know now, I would do differently.
Oh, cool. Well, let's kind of get into that. Let's unpack that a little bit. Yeah. So how would you get into owning your own dentistry practice versus obviously starting out getting your feet wet, working for somebody else. Now you're actually the business owner, correct?
Yeah. So after about 2 or 3 years of being an associate, Bruce Cooper let me buy in as a partner.
Okay, very cool.
And so we were partners for a good chunk of time, probably 8 years, and to be honest with you, I was a partner, but I just kind of sat back and did the dentistry and I watched him go. And
Yeah.
whenever I tried to kind of put my input in or, hey, let's do this, it was always like, oh, that's a good idea, but we're going to do what I want to do, And so I totally get that. But as we got further along, I paid off my half of the practice. And with paying off my half of the practice, I became the managing owner. And I got to start making decisions. And that was probably just a couple of years, it was about in 2020 is when I really became the owner, in my opinion, of the practice. Brought in a good friend of mine who went to St. Martin's College with me, graduated. He went to dental school much later than me, but he graduated, came around. Bruce let him come in as an associate, and he's now my partner. And Bruce is now retired.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of gets us up to speed to where you're at, obviously, a couple of years ago. Now, what are some of the things that you've experienced by owning your own business or practice that have really started to make you think differently about your path, your journey? Because obviously I know you and I've seen you start to transition the last couple of years, and it's amazing. And we'll get into that in a moment. But what's that thing that you started to realize was, maybe this isn't the right path. Maybe there's something more, something different, a different life, or what was that kind of happened?
Yeah, there's multiple things there to unpack. Number one, dentistry is hard. And I'll try to paint a picture. And I think a lot of businesses are hard. Maybe a lot of people can relate to this, but it's tough causing people discomfort. It's tough walking into your office and people telling you, no offense, but I don't like you, because of what you're about to do to me. You're right in their face. You're not just a dentist, you're a psychologist. You got to get people comfortable. You got to deal with their anxiety. I'm a pretty empathetic person. So I suck in a lot of that energy. And by the end of the day, you're not only physically tired, but man, emotionally and mentally, you're cooked.
Yeah.
And it's just, it starts to get 9 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week. You got every time you walk into a room, you probably see about 80 patients a day, and you walk into that room and you got to put on that smile and you got to put on the show and let them know that they're the only person that you're concerned about at that moment. And, you just get tired after a while. The other thing that happened was in 2019, started getting really bad sciatica. My back started killing me, and I couldn't play golf. I could barely sit in the car, and you start to wonder, like, is it over? Like, I can't do dentistry. I can't even do anything that I like to do. And eventually had a surgery, just did a little disectomy and got it was pushing on my nerve. And so got that out of there, and I felt great ever since. But that same year ended up with a hernia as well. Had never had surgeries before that time, was completely healthy. And I was just like, man, bending over people that many hours a day, that many days a week, it just beat my body up, and it was beating up my spirit a little bit. And, and so I started to feel trapped, and because I had to continue to pay for our lifestyle. This was the only thing I know. It's what I'm trained to do. And so I felt like I'd have to do it for another 20 or 30 years. And it was starting to make me feel really anxious, and nervous. And so that was kind of the turning point after having those surgeries. Okay. And of course, the pandemic, like everyone else, you start thinking about change a lot during the pandemic.
Absolutely. Because at that point in time, if you had stopped working in the dentistry practice, what would else have happened? I mean, your income, lifestyle, what would have happened there?
I went through every scenario, and I was thinking, I'll just sell it. And, I could probably sell it for, $1 million or a couple million, and that'd be great. But what would I do with that? What would be my next step? Like,
how long would it last?
Yeah, I have nothing. I own a business that I know really well, and I have a trade that I've been trained in, and I'm good at it. But like, what else? Like, how quick would that money run out? Where would we go? What would I do next? It was just starting to I felt like I'd be stepping into something that I didn't know what was on the other side. And it made me really nervous, so I just kept working.
Yeah. And you'd also, at this point in time, you'd put in years, your life, money, all the stuff into this practice.
Man. Yeah.
And so yet because you say you're a dentist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you stop
I don't anymore.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get to that.
We'll get there. Yeah.
But if you stop working in the dentistry practice, everything else would stop too.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting you say that. Like a lot of people are in that same scenario where they have spent so much time, money, energy, their life energy, put it into this business, only to realize if they stop doing it or they don't have the passion anymore, literally everything around it stops. So you feel stuck in that business. You feel fuck.
Yeah. I was saying that. Yes.
Yeah. Like you're stuck in it, but you think you have this business, but really you have a very high paid job.
Yeah. That's what it felt like.
So what happened there with your mindset where it changed?
Well, it started with everything I explained. Just it wasn't feeling like I wanted to spend the next 20 years of my life. And then I started the process of learning. It's like, hey, I know how to learn. I went through 8 years of college plus. My whole life, most of my life still has been education and learning. And I said, I learned everything I needed to get to this point. I can still learn.
Right.
And so, it started out with YouTube videos. It started out with podcasts, learning more about real estate, business, other opportunities that I could potentially kind of move to, so if I was going to make a decision to pivot away from what I knew, I had to know where I was going next. And so I started gaining the knowledge, and it's pretty awesome. Like you don't have to go to school to do that anymore. Like I probably learned more in that year or two than I had throughout my whole school career, and that's when I came across you. And it was EVG at the time.
Yep.
And I bought the lifetime membership, and after hearing what you had to offer, being a guy from my hometown, just felt like a connection to you. I didn't even know you. And I felt like, I think I can, because you don't know who you can trust. There's so many people online. You're like, is this person leading me in the right direction? So,
absolutely, yeah.
But it was something I could afford at the time. And it represented the change that I needed in my life at the time. And it made me feel like I wasn't as stuck because I was learning something.
Right.
And and so enter into your group and learned a lot of things. The best thing about your group is honestly the networking. You've referred me to different people that you've spent time, money, efforts meeting, and every one of those have panned out really well and have helped. They're going to help me and my family in the future. They're helping my business now, and it's preparing me to, I think, make a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate that. And one of the things, obviously, I've seen some of your journey and stuff, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Yeah, and it's amazing to watch it. So one of the things I've seen you pivot the most, which I think has had one of the biggest impacts, is in your mindset around kind of where you're at, but where you're also going. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I kind of see you've had a lot of energy right there that all of a sudden it took off.
It's taken off. Yeah. So it actually started with a discussion with you that we had long ago where you asked me, like, what do you do? Who are you? What are you? What do you do? I'm like, I'm a dentist. And you're like, no, you're not a dentist. You own a dental practice. You're a businessman, right? You're an entrepreneur and you own a dental practice. And from that time on, I've started thinking more like, well, first of all, I thought I need to learn how to be a businessman, because most dentists, let's be honest, like we don't learn business. And if you didn't get a business degree in school and you don't have a dad who has run a business and you can and a good mentor who I bought my practice from, if you don't have that, a lot of these dentists are on an island and all they know how to do is drill on teeth. And behind them, the business is just mediocre, like we don't know how to do it, So So all we think to do is, well, just drill more teeth, drill more teeth, drill more teeth. And we don't realize that there's things on the business side that would just make things more efficient, better, more organized, more consistent. But you don't have the time to do it, because when you're sitting in a dental chair 5 days a week, nine hours a day, like when do you find the time to, what do you say? You don't want to work in your business. You want to work on your business.
Absolutely.
Like when do you work on your business? When you're drilling teeth all day long. So, so I came to a realization that, hey, I can still do what I'm doing, do what I know, but kind of get unstuck and not have to completely go to a whole new place. Right. And so somebody that you've referred me to is Dush. And he's kind of I've taken him on as my business mentor. So he's teaching me how to read the business, look at the numbers. I'm learning again. I'm educating myself how to create systems that can be repeatable. I'm about to bring in an associate dentist who is going to do more dentistry in my place.
Very cool.
That starts September 1st. We got him coming in, and he's actually a good friend of my current partner who loves to do dentistry and is actually just an incredible dentist. So if anyone needs like some beautiful veneers or something, this guy knocks it out of the park. But they're very excited about the dentistry. And so they're going to keep managing the dentistry side of things. And I'm backing away and focusing on the business. And my goal is just to make me and them, the whole thing, more valuable and more profitable.
Because that's an interesting thing you mentioned right there. And I've seen this, unfortunately, many times, the scenario where someone has this business, they think they're a business owner, but they're working in the business. Then decades pass, and all of a sudden they're saying, okay, I got to retire. But then they find out, unfortunately, that they have a business that is truly a high paid job. And a lot of people don't want to pay top dollar for a job.
Yeah. No,
so that's one of the things you've been kind of changing around your mindset around that, is realizing that I want to make this business an asset.
Yes.
Not a job. And then all of a sudden the value of it goes just skyrocket, because guess what? If an investor comes along and says, oh, I can buy this business from you down the road, but I'm buying a business, not a job, they're going to pay.
Exactly. And I've totally come to that realization. It's like, to me, it's like, you guys do the dentistry and let me raise the value of this thing for all of us. Let me bring value. Let's make this place profitable. Let's bring expenses down. Let's find ways to make our staff happy, and keep them around, and at the same time provide really good quality product to the community. I mean, the dental environment is going corporate right now. Just like the hospitals, just like the doctors, just like the pharmacies many years ago. There's no more Main Street pharmacy, right? They're all in a corporation. So dentistry is heading that direction. And so we're trying to create a vision here where we can develop practices that still provide quality care, still invest in technology, treat the staff well, treat the patients well, and just offer something different. And so that kind of takes me to the next thing. Like today, we're making an offer on a second practice here. So we're gonna buy a second dental practice right here, just on the other side of town, and awesome. And try to bring more value and just try to build this thing up more.
And so what I love what you're doing right there is that you had the knowledge of dentistry in your head, but that really was just you trading time for money.
Yep.
That was the knowledge you had there. Now you're taking that knowledge and combining it with the business acumen that you're now doing. All of a sudden you realize I can apply this to other businesses and increase the value of them over and over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so all of a sudden that skill set is not just in your business, it's in other ones. And you're starting to build more and more cash flowing assets.
Yeah. It's awesome. We're so excited. Me and my partner my partner always goes, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, and Dush, he always makes the point that, hey, you can only drill so many teeth in a day. So if you're a dentist, if you have a job, there's a max. But if you have a business in a system that can be repeatable and it grows and grows and grows and grows, that's how you become wealthy.
Yeah. I don't know. We talked about it. It's that whole 80-20 thing where unfortunately most people spend 80% of their life or their working life trading time for money, and only 20% or even less than that. I think it's probably more like 5% or 1%
Yeah.
other income streams. And
Yeah.
yet when you realize that, you're like, it's like a kind of an awakening. Like, oh my God, I've been spending my time trading time for money, but the real freedom is over here.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I'm taking that knowledge and now saying, how do I get my money working for me? How do I
Yeah.
get my knowledge working for me? How to get things working for me versus me working for the time, the money.
Yeah.
And
And it's really cool because I'm going to get paid as basically the CEO of the practice. So I'm going to really start backing away from dentistry. I'm going to be working 2 days a week when the new guy comes in. And I think when we get to a third practice, I'm probably going to be pulling out dentistry completely and just managing all three practices and looking for the fourth, fifth, and so on.
yeah. Yeah, and it's a very cool model, and I've seen a lot of people do that very successfully because you're taking that knowledge and helping other people in their businesses as well.
Yeah.
So let's transition really quickly. So obviously, when you were 3-4 years ago, how many income streams did you really have?
It was the dental practice and my job, and that was probably about it.
And has that changed today?
It has. We're doing the elevation banking thing. And so I don't 100% understand it, but I've been working with Adam Doran on it, and they've really guided us through. Yeah. And they help us understand, but at the same time, oh man, that group over there has been super helpful as well.
Yeah. They're awesome.
Oh man. So they helped us set that up, and that's growing. And at any time we expect to use it to invest in maybe another opportunity, and continue to watch the account grow, which is like crazy. The other thing, Prevail introduced us to an opportunity in a real estate distribution center deal. And we bought a unit of that, and a year later, we put $50,000 in, and a year later, I think we got $75,000 back. So made $25,000 in 1 year. And that was 2021 when a lot of people were losing in the stock market, so
that's the thing, is it doesn't matter what's going on in the world and the economy. When you have the right access and the right knowledge and the right team behind you, that's when you can actually grow, especially when everybody's in fear. Like that's when there's massive opportunity, as you just saw.
Yeah.
And it's a different mindset.
It's their mindset. And so, and now you see money coming from different buckets. I do my dentistry, and now I'm going to get paid to manage. So there's two different places where things are coming from, but then we get distributions. So for every business that we own, the owners take a distribution on those business on that. And so that's just in the business I'm creating now. I'll have three different, income streams just from that business alone.
I love that. And you got real estate going on too and everything else.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, the second practice, we're also looking to buy the building.
There you go. See, that's the coolest thing there. When you can own the building and the practice, and you've got multiple assets all of a sudden.
Yeah. Oh, and then I didn't mention this, but my original practice, we're building a brand new building, a larger building, in a really nice part of town. And so we're going to be able to expand that practice, make it bigger. It's going to be a beautiful building, beautiful area. We'll pick up a lot of new clients and patients. And so, and that building also is going to go up in value. And, we're also building a 2-story. So we'll be on the second story, and on the first story, we'll be leasing out to tenants and other businesses.
More revenue streams right there. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we're good, man. It's exploding, Yeah,
this is so cool. So what's your vision now over the next couple of years moving forward?
Yeah, my vision is to continue to kind of get myself out of the dental chair and into the businesses constantly. I would like, in the next 7 years, we'd like to have about 6 to 8 practices in the South Sound area. That's the south of the Puget Sound in Washington, for those of you not from Washington. And so that would be like Olympia, Tumwater, Lacey, up to Tacoma, maybe right in that area. So we'd like about 8 practices, and we like to own the buildings on all of them. And my goal is to get to a point in the near future where I can pass the CEO duties on to someone else and just take the distributions and kind of move on to other things I want to do in life while still getting passive income from the business that I've grown.
Awesome. And I know you guys are also looking at maybe potentially moving out of the sound area.
Yep. And so if you get out of the dental chair, you can do that. You can you can be the CEO from anywhere you want to be.
Yeah.
And then if I do hire a CEO in the future, or maybe one of the other dental partners decides to take on those duties in my place, we can move on, just take the distributions every month and kind of start our next journey. And we would love to probably do that from somewhere else than where we are now.
That's awesome. That gives you that freedom, because I know one of the things that you talked about is when you were in the business, you felt stuck, not just in the business, but stuck just geographically in your life.
Absolutely. Like, where do you go? I got one dental practice and it's here.
You can't like just pick up the business and just relocate.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way, but now you're building that because that gives you that freedom. I know a lot of business owners, one of the things that they feel they're lacking is freedom.
Yeah.
The business owns them. They don't own the business. And that is probably one of the biggest transformations I've seen you, is going from the business owning you to you owning the business.
I'm starting to feel that way.
Yeah. And that's a phenomenal feeling, by the way.
Yeah.
Ever owned a business? And you're like saying, no. There's a question. I think I asked you this. Who owns you? Who owns who?
Yeah.
The business or you?
The business owned me, and it still owns me a little, but I'm making a comeback.
That's awesome. So if you were in front of some professionals, people in the dentistry field or the medical field, that either they have a business or they're in a business, they own their own business, what are some of the top things that you would recommend or suggest to them?
Yeah, I have a lot of dentists just in town here who come up to me and go, "How are you only working 3 days a week?" And I'm like, "Well, actually, starting in September, it'll be 2." And they just don't understand that, and they've been practicing longer than me. And so what I tell them is, you don't have to be stuck. First of all, just realize that you don't have to abandon what you're doing necessarily, but you don't have to be stuck doing the things that make you anxious or make you not happy, or frustrated. And so what I tell people is learn, first of all, figure out what you want. You have to know what you want and why you're doing all this. You have to know where you're going. And if you don't know where you're going, you might as well just put your head down and keep doing your job, because, it's just too hard if you don't understand where you're going, it's too hard to make the changes.
You don't know what decisions you're doing are right or wrong. And that's what I call living with purpose.
Yeah.
And one of the most beautiful things I see in people is when they actually find their purpose and they can live with that purpose. Because at that point in time, it doesn't really matter what else is going on. If you know your purpose, you know where you're going. No matter what else happens, you have that. And unfortunately, too many people go through their lives not knowing what their purpose is and never being able to fulfill it.
Yeah.
So I love that you said that.
Yeah. And if you don't know your purpose, you're stuck more than ever. You just, and it's almost like I was in a successful practice, and most people look at me and go, why are you feeling so bad for yourself? But it doesn't matter where you're at in life. If you feel stuck, you feel stuck. It doesn't matter how much you have or how much you're making or what, it's just, if you're not happy, if you don't wake up in the morning feeling like I'm really excited about what I'm going to be doing today, it's just a crappy way to live life. So these days I wake up very excited to do what I'm going to be doing that day.
Yeah. And that's funny you mentioned that, because that's part of why I created a Living Legacy, was for that purpose right there, that reason right there, to help people find their purpose and live that. Because there's a saying out there, and I'll probably butcher it a little bit, but it's like, it says, God's gift to us was to give us unlimited talent.
Yeah.
And and whether you want to believe in God or the Spirit or whatever universe,
absolutely.
Our gift back to the universe is to utilize as much of that talent as possible.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, most of us don't do that second part because we don't realize it.
Yeah, we don't. And I think realizing that you're more capable than you are at the moment that you're in now, you can do more. Also be willing to take risks. Like, what is life if you're not willing to take some risks to, with huge benefits on the other side? And I have made decisions in the last year or so that have not been good ones. And you just learn from those things. You move forward and you just become better. The other thing I tell people is find mentors or find somewhere that you trust to learn from. Because none of this happens if I'm not searching. And trust me, I found people on the internet that led me in the wrong direction, right? Led me to invest in certain things that have lost me a lot of money.
Right.
But ultimately, I kind of came across you, and then Adam, and then Dush, and all these people who are really invested in my journey right now.
Yep.
So find whether it's a website or a mentor or somebody who, I love you guys because of the network, right? Like, you don't do it alone. You have a group of people that you can get us to. And if you find that think tank or that group or the people that can get you thinking bigger, because we only know what we know. And if we aren't around people who have done more or think bigger or get you to think bigger, you're still going to stay stuck. And so that was like probably the number one thing to actually start taking action, because I started having a lot of ideas, but I didn't know what to do with them until I came across you and the people you've referred me to.
Yeah. My experience probably mirrors a little bit of yours. I remember back years ago, I had a person I worked with, and they promised all these things. They could do everything. And of course they could do maybe 1 out of 100 things well, and the rest didn't work out and ended up losing 500,000 with a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
So kind of what we did with you and some of our other clients is it's that wealth team, that team of those people that are behind you, that are on your side. And that, I mean, imagine going out and playing basketball with one player. It doesn't really work. You're going to lose because the other team's going to have, obviously multiple players. But when you have a team, all of a sudden it starts to work, and then you can have the support that you need to accomplish your goals and stuff. And that's really where I had the same experience as you did. It's like, oh my gosh, if you have a team of people behind you, you have a purpose that, they can actually help you fulfill. Taking action and getting unstuck becomes simple.
It becomes simple, and they check in with you and they hold you responsible for the things that you say you're going to do.
Absolutely.
And that's huge as well. Otherwise you just don't do it,
Yep. And because we get sort of blindfolded sometimes, or we get the blinders on and we get very focused, and all of a sudden you put your head up and it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
It's been 7 years, 8 years. I mean, it's like, holy cow. And so like, that's what happens sometimes. And so, having that team behind you is paramount to me.
Absolutely. And you either get the blinders on, or, like humans, like we try to find the path of least resistance. So we're always looking for the easiest way. That's nature too. That's physics, right? Things try to find the path of least resistance. And the problem with that is if you don't have someone holding you accountable and helping you accomplish your goals and do the things that you truly want to do, it's really easy to just go back to a path of least resistance and just not make progress.
Yeah. And it's amazing that path of least resistance oftentimes will lead to a lot of pain, a lot of heartache, and a lot of frustration, and a lot of sleepless nights because you don't feel fulfilled.
Yeah. Yeah. You're doing it to yourself, but for some, you can't help it. And then, trust me, I had nights and mornings where I'd wake up just feeling just like that. It was horrible. I don't feel like that much anymore.
That's awesome. I love that, brother. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Any last minute or last things you'd like to give to anybody who's listening, as far as some of your things that you've experienced recently that they could benefit from?
Not too much to add. I think I'm really excited about the journey. I'm really excited about how much has happened just in a couple months, and it doesn't have to take forever, right? Once you figure it out, it just starts to fall into place. I'm excited about the future. I'm excited to learn more about real estate. I'm excited to learn more about other businesses. There's just so many things I want to do, but right now, I'm just pumped about the journey I'm on. I thought 2 years ago, I'm done with dentistry. I'm out of here. And I found a way with the people around me and the mentors I have to take advantage of the situation I'm in, and but still get the things that I need to feel like I'm not stuck anymore. So
Awesome.
just get started, get going, find someone that'll get you moving, and just know that you don't have to be stuck, and but you got to take action. You got to start doing, you got to put the time in, you got to learn, and then you got to get people on your side.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, Joe. Appreciate that. That was great. And if somebody wants to learn more about your business, where would they go?
OlympiaAdvancedDentistry.com.
So OlympiaAdvancedDentistry.com. Cool.
OlympiaAdvancedDentistry.com. And right now you're just going to see our current practice but 5 years from now, you might see 8 practices on there with different locations. Yeah.
Awesome.
And you won't see me as a dentist. You'll see me as the CEO.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sounds good. Hey, man, that was awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Thanks for listening to the Living Legacy Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.